Good evening, TDN listeners and viewers, and my audience of This Week in Interview. Welcome to this special edition of This Week in Interview. I would like to call it Election Watch, but I think it's more of a resistance watch. This is Anthony Drago. I want to say that I want you to share the live. If you're on Share the Live, invite somebody to watch with us, because what we're doing from now until we stop this attempt to short circuit the democratic process in Dominica is that we are going to be bringing programs that is geared at informing you and helping you to understand the situation so that you can know what action you can take to help. As you know, for those of you who may be wondering what I'm talking about, is that the Prime Minister of Dominica on November 6th issued a writ saying that elections in Dominica were going to be held on the 6th of December, notwithstanding the fact that he had promised that the demands for, with regards to cleaning up the voters list and all the other demands that have been being made for the last 10 years would have been done before the next election, notwithstanding the fact that the Caribbean Court of Justice, which is the highest court, which replaced the Privy Council, said that before Dominica does the next election, we should have all of those things taken care of. Notwithstanding the CARICOM, Organization of American States, OECS, all of those organizations who have sent people to Dominica to look at the process, who have made recommendations to make it more free and fair. The Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, went ahead and announced elections for 6th of December. And so that is what we're dealing with. So welcome. You might be viewing us on Facebook, on TDN Radio Facebook page, This Week in Interview Facebook page. If you don't do Facebook, then tdntv.net, or you can do YouTube at tdnnetwork1.com. We're also on Roku and on all of these other social platforms. They will be up on the screen soon. If you're in Dominica, you can view us on DigiPlay channel 59 through our affiliate online radio, RVR Jams. So what we're doing tonight, this week, and for the next few weeks is that we're coming on 1 hour early at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Dominica, and we're going to be focusing on these elections that the Prime Minister is trying to hold and the resistance that we're putting up to prevent it from happening. And so tonight, my guest tonight on the program is Mr. Loftus Durand. He's no stranger to the struggle. Loftus kept the candle burning for a long time before the last election to give United Workers' Party a chance and the opposition a chance to guile themselves to be able to contest the last election. And he's never stopped since the last election. He's consistently on and bringing us up to date and trying to hold the government honest and hold their feet to the fire. And so I invited them on with us tonight. Lloyd Z is in New York, ladies and gentlemen, is to bring you information about what's happening in Dominica, bring you information that's relevant to the fight back. Tomorrow is supposed to be a protest. So we want to encourage you, send a message to government that even maybe power people, and of course go masters to wear white shirt and do the CARICOM mention as we normally do, because I'm anxious to get to go do this sham election and what you can do, how you can contribute. I have contributed. Have you contributed? Even if you're not in Dominica, you can contribute. If you're in Dominica, you can put your boots on the ground. You can pick up your phone and call folks. Tell them, don't go to work tomorrow. Let's show that we're not pleased. If you can afford, they're looking for money to pay for a bus to take you into Roseau. They're looking for funds to make refreshments and all of those things. And we, as the momentum picks up on the protest action and the resistance, they need our support in whatever way it is that we can. So tonight I'm hoping that we're going to learn more about the response that is ongoing and the response that is upcoming. And but tonight we're going to get the fever going with this resistance and to keep the energy ever in. If you have the video, those videos on after the side, love the. Well, what's going on? While this is being some of my voice on videos. So tomorrow, Dominicans have been invited to come up and protest, come and register protest because the protesters to understand that, you know, at least he of the Prime Minister right now, it doesn't mean absolute. Dominica is not Naki. Dominica is not North Korea. Prime Minister of Dominica has to understand that when he makes decisions, he has to take into account the people that are going to be affected by that decision. How does Dominica afford an election now? What is the reason for the election? There's no reason for an election. Yes, the Constitution says that the Prime Minister has the discretion to call an election at any time. That doesn't mean that he has the right to just go ahead and call it. He has to take it into account. So for example, you have the right to drive your car. But that doesn't mean that you're going to just drive your car recklessly and cause harm to others. And if you do, then there should be consequences, and there are consequences. Similarly, the Prime Minister of Dominica has to understand that Dominica was severely affected, and that is right on the heels of being totally devastated by Hurricane Maria, right? Can Dominica afford to have an election? The resources that we put into the election, could it go to buy a mammogram machine for the hospital? Because we heard the oncologist who worked at the hospital says that one of the biggest factors in survival of cancer, including breast cancer, is early detection. Dominica at the hospital doesn't have a mammogram machine. On average, we were looking at 3 people a week dying of cancer in Dominica. Most of the women who die from breast cancer. The money we take on and spend on an election could easily buy a mammogram machine or bring technicians. The last thing we need now, party needs a reset. The Labour Party is not the government of Dominica. The Labour Party is not the government of Dominica. So if your party needs a reset, if you need to reshuffle your cabinet, why are you putting the country through the trauma of an election? What is the justification for an election? But somebody might say that doesn't matter. The Constitution gives the Prime Minister
Dominica, your country is in crisis. Your country's democracy is in crisis. Save it now. Join the thousands that will gather on the Bayfront in Roseau from 3 to 7 p.m. for a national public meeting to answer the call, no reform, no elections, organized by the Coalition of Opposition Parties and Civil Society Organizations. This Thursday, see your face in the place for a national public meeting to save your country. Each and everybody, beginning with me.
happen in our country, this lawless behavior, the government will not accept it from these people. You fight elections with policies, programs, and ideas, not blocking streets and burning streets in Dominica. So it's not going to happen again. And if it happens, we'll deal with it according to the laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica. That nonsense will not happen in our country. This lawless behavior, the government will not accept it from these people. You fight elections with policies, programs, and ideas, not blocking streets and burning streets in Dominica. So it's not going to happen again. And if it happens, we'll deal with it according to the laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Dominica, your country is in crisis. Your country's democracy is in crisis. Save it now. Join the thousands that will gather on the Bayfront in Roseau from 3 to 7 p.m. for a national public meeting to answer the call, no reform, no elections, organized by the coalition of opposition parties and civil society organizations. This Thursday, see your face in the place for a national public meeting to save your country. Each and everybody, beginning with me. Dominica.
All right, we're back. I'm not sure what happened, but sometimes the technology gods challenge us, and we want to say that we certainly okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just apologize for the technical issues. We tested this thing beforehand and it worked perfectly, and then we went live and we were having issues. Hopefully this connection is more stable, but I hope you heard what I was saying before, that the purpose of tonight's special program is to help you understand what it is that we're doing in response to that sham election that the Prime Minister called. We want to bring attention to the fact that the Dominica is not supposed to have another election with a voters list that is as contaminated as the list in the previous elections. The Caribbean Court of Justice, which is the highest court in the Caribbean, replaced the Privy Council, said as much. They said that another election is not supposed to be called before issues like the voters list and ID and so on is taken care of. Yet the Prime Minister of Dominica decides that he's calling an election now. Why would he call an election right now? Why would he call an election right now? Dominica cannot afford an election right now. We are coming out of Hurricane Maria. Right on the heels of that, we had the pandemic that shut down the world economy. So what is the purpose of putting the country through the trauma and the expense of an election at this point in time? We certainly cannot afford it financially, we cannot afford it emotionally, we cannot afford it politically. However, blessings come in disguises, and Dominica needs to get itself out from under this administration that has been have the country going backwards in reverse gear for the last 22 years. And so this is the way that we've been providing an opportunity to ask the government to step aside. They're obviously out of ideas. The Prime Minister, how often can the Prime Minister decide that the people that he present for the population to elect, he asks them to elect these people run for elections and they win the elections, right? After they win the elections, 2 years into it, you're shuffling and pushing them aside and bring some additional people in without any explanation as to why these folks are no longer there, what makes these new ones more qualified than the ones that are being pushed up. If the Labour Party government needs to reshuffle their cabinet, they should reshuffle their cabinet. They should not reshuffle the country. And if the job of running the country is too much for them, then they should do the noble thing and step aside. But when the folks get a taste of power and privilege, it becomes addictive, and therefore they will do anything to stay in power. And that is what is going on in Dominica right now. And as Dominicans, we need to stand up. We need to stand up and to tell the Labour Party government that enough is enough. We are not, we don't want you to we don't want you to take us through the trauma of an election. Step aside if you don't have the personnel, if you don't have the capacity to lead the country. Step aside. Okay, don't put the country through a trauma of an election. And everybody else who has seen the process, even Dennis Byron, who the Prime Minister hired at tremendous cost to the country. So reportedly, his report is ready. He was right on the cusp of releasing his report, and the Prime Minister short circuits the system that he hired at his own discretion. Nobody forced him to do it. He had all his time to look at Sir Dennis, and he decided to hire him and short circuit the report and cause an election ahead of that. What is the purpose of that? And making it look as if it is a gotcha game where he tells the opposition he catch them with their pants down. Dominica is who he's catching with their pants down, because Dominica is not ready for the trauma of an election barely 3 years after the previous election. So, Roosevelt Skerritt, this is not something that is good for the country. And can anybody say that the election is in the interest of the country? Even if the Prime Minister has discretion to call the election when he feels like it, is this really in the interest of the country? And what are we going to do about it? So tonight's program is about that. Tonight's program is about telling us, the people, the citizens of Dominica, that we need to take a stand. The opposition forces are working together. The major opposition parties are coming together. Civic society is coming together. The trade unions, I think, are on board. They should be on board. And what about the private sector? What about the churches? What about the social groups? Everybody should be on board with this effort to say that this is not good for business. This is not good for our people. This is not good for Dominica. Please, please is when you're begging somebody, but we demand that a different road be taken. And if it is that the government doesn't have the capacity to run the country, let us form a coalition, a committee for national salvation. Let us form that, and then we would say that we would do an interim government. We do an interim government that would normalize the country, and would normalize the country, and would put it on an even keel, and then we would do electoral reform as demanded for the last at least 10 years, 12 years. And once that is done, a proper election can be called. So tomorrow, folks, I want you to get up, put something solid in your stomach so you have the strength and the stamina, and go out there and register your protest. All you're doing is register your protest. Go to Roseau, go to wherever it's organized. If anything is organized in your district and you're not able to go to Roseau, go there and stand up, be counted, wear a white shirt. Be counted as among the citizens who agree that this election is terrible for Dominica. If your union has asked you to stay home and not go to work, you should stay home and go to your union hall, or go to your union hall and discuss and come up with a plan of action. We've done it before. And guess who was the leader when we did it before? It was Charles Savre, the current president, who is in the role of president, simply seems to be carrying out the at the whim and fancy of Roosevelt Skerritt, whatever is asked of him. Why is that? Dominicans, we have a proud history of self-determination. Dominica was one of the few places that resisted, was successfully resisted the colonizers. We have a history of our ancestors going into the hills and living in the rugged mountains of Dominica instead of submitting to slavery and the plantation. And we know about Bala and all of these other guys, and not the bravery and the courage with which they stood up to the forces who were better armed, supposedly better trained, paid, had whatever at their disposal, technology, whatever existed at the time, and our ancestors were able to resist that. And so that is a spirit that we have to invoke right now. We have to invoke that Negmaon spirit in our people. We have to invoke that Busolavi aspect of our people, and we have to say, we have Pocosio, and we have Fulu, and we have Paul, and we have all of those guys who basically told the system, I can decide for myself how I can live my life. And we remember when our young men used to get shot and hunted like goats because they chose to wear their hair in dreads. And that did not stop them from wearing their hair in dreads. They moved away, they resisted, and they fought back until conditions changed. And that's what we have to do. We cannot just allow our country to just disintegrate. Dominica has too much to offer for it to just disintegrate. Dominica is sitting on so much fresh water. You go to Dominica, they're importing bottled water into Dominica. What is that? Dominica has so much land. You go to Dominica, they're importing carrots and cabbage and lettuce and all of this stuff into Dominica. Why? Because the country is not being properly managed. And all this government is trying to do is to stay in power. Stay in power by any means necessary. And so we, as the citizens of Dominica, have to be able to stand up and coordinate and organize ourselves. Folks, it's not going to get better. For you to get any improvement, there has to be risk. And the risk is just, if there's so many of us, so many of you out on the streets, there's no risk. If there's 10 people, then the police can come after 10 people and brutalize them. But if there's 1,000 people, if there's 2,000, 3,000 people, how many people voted for the United Workers' Party at the last election? I think it was about 17,000 or something like that. If you know the number, you can put it in the chat for me. How many people voted the United Workers' Party in the last election? So everybody doesn't need to come. 10%, 1,700 people, 1,000 people on the streets in Roseau. Wow. We get a couple thousand people in the Asa Banton concert. We get 10,000 people at World Korean Music Festival. We can get 2,000 or 3,000 people on the streets of Roseau tomorrow registering our protests. Let the Prime Minister see that there's enough people who are disenchanted and dissatisfied with his governance of the country. And at that rate, we want to tell him that you need to go off if you have to. So, Sam, if our guests are backstage, let's bring him on. We certainly, Zed.
Yeah, Thompson, I can't share the program. I don't see no share on your page, nor the thing page. Is the program? I can't get the program nowhere to share online. Yeah,
folks,
but only even on your page you don't have the program shared, man.
It's not shared.
You know what I mean?
Hold on.
I don't even see it on your page, brother. How am I? We got to make sure we share the program, man.
Work on that, but in the meantime, we can continue our talk. All right.
Yeah, but I gotta share so because different people see my feed or your.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me go to this weekend interview. You say it's not showing up on this weekend interview?
Yeah. But even your own homepage, I went there, I didn't see that.
Hold on.
Mm.
The program is live on This Week in Interview page.
I went there, brethren, and I didn't find it. It's on your normal page now?
On This Week in Interview. I'm going there right now. Check it.
I'm seeing the ad. I'm not seeing the live.
I'm on This Week in
I'm
Interview
seeing
right now.
no, you come up. Now you
Okay,
come
so
up.
if you want to share it, you can go ahead and share it.
All right. But it doesn't have no sharing. It's private. You can't share it. It's private. You have no. It's not. You don't have no share there.
I'm going to share it if you said.
All right.
No. It's not allowing me. All right, but Zed, in the meantime, go ahead and talk about what's happening tomorrow. Tell the folks that are listening how they can contribute, what's going on while we do this. Can you hear me, Zed? Sam, can you tell me if Zed is still on or he dropped out? Let's take a commercial break. Sam, can you play the videos again and let's see what's going on?
Dominica, your country is in crisis. Your country's democracy is in crisis. Save it now. Join the thousands that will gather on the Bayfront in Roseau from 3 to 7 p.m. for a national public meeting to answer the call, no reform, no elections, organized by the coalition of opposition parties and civil society organizations. This Thursday, see your face in the place for a national public meeting to save your country.
Each and everybody, beginning with me.
Dominica, your country is in crisis. Your country's democracy is in crisis. Save it now. Join the thousands that will gather on the Bayfront in Roseau from 3 to 7 p.m. for a national public meeting to answer the call, no reform, no elections, organized by the coalition of opposition parties and civil society organizations. This Thursday, see your face in the place for a national public meeting to save your country.
Each and everybody, beginning with me.
Zed, I sent you the link in your Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, let's go ahead, man. Let's go. Let's just. Yeah, that's all right. Let's go.
Go to Facebook.
No, because I gotta go. Then I go out of the app. Every time you move, you actually go out of it. That's cool, man. It's out there, you know. Where's Lofty? Lofty shared. You sent Lofty a link.
Lofty's having trouble to connect.
Wow.
All right, let's make the best of what we have there. Let's not waste the rest of the time. So people will catch the recording, if anything. So tell me, Lofty, about what is being planned for tomorrow. I mean, Zed.
Yeah, well, I'm in the diaspora. You know, I just do the diaspora end of it. But tomorrow is a very serious thing. I think it's described in a political context. But for me, I think tomorrow is much more than political. I think tomorrow is much more than political. I think the level of there's a polarized construct in Dominica, not just politically, but on all things. On all things. And what it creates is an imbalance in the society. For some, it's okay, and for others, it's not. And I'm not saying that there are any societies that are entirely balanced. But in our society, it's become unevenly balanced to a scale that we're not normally accustomed to. and worst off to a scale that we don't even have to go through, given this quality of living that our standard and our economic cost and our economic loans and our economic debt and our economic benefits and our economic programs. When you sum them all together in what they represent, we should be actually living as a very equitable and balanced society, that even the have-nots in our society should be enjoying a better measure of comfort and living and hope and those kinds of things. So there is an imbalance in the society, and I think the imbalance has reached the people's minds. It has reached the people's minds where our minds are so distorted that it is easy to hate, it is easy to pounce, it is easy to pray, it is, and I mean that PREY, not the PRAY kind of type, but it is easy to just, and any bycard, any defense that is low enough, we're ready to jump over it. Because the big bycard that we really want to jump over, we can't jump over it. So a lot of hate and a lot of tension, a lot of stress, and a lot of disease, and a lot of things is happening in Dominica. Maybe not because Roosevelt carried intentions it, but because the resultant tension that his style of governance creates, it keeps us so stressed 24/7 as a society. Even working people tell you about the stress. That something has to be done for the health of the people. It's not even political, for the health of the nation. A healing have to take place. For the life of the people, their very life. Some
Okay,
sense of semblance of balance, has to be
right.
returned to the society. You
Then I
guys hearing
agree.
me?
Let's tell the people what is it that's going on tomorrow, what they can do about the whole thing. 'Cause
Well,
of course,
tomorrow, like I said, I'm in the diaspora, and all I'm asking, and I'm just trying to tell the people out down there why they need to go and save. That is their soul. They have to go and save there, going out. It's not just a political representation. It's a statement to someone who is your leader, and he has lost the concept of leadership by thinking that leadership means ownership. And leadership is not ownership, you know, and there is an equal partnership with the people, even if you are called leader. Your whole pattern of governance isn't complete until you and the people that you rule over have a symbiotic and a mutual relationship. And there is no symbiosis in Dominica right now between governance and people. There is more symbiosis between foreigners and governance than governance and native people. And so tomorrow, the issue is much more than electoral reform. Electoral reform is the banner along which we're trying to do something. But the issue is much more than electoral reform. Go out in the streets of Roseau, find your way into the city. Go and save your conscience. Go and find your conscience again, Dominica. Go and find your conscience again for your salvation, for your kids to see some measure of manness in you and manhood. For your daughters, to see some measure of womanhood in you and your manhood. For those fathers to inspire their children. That's what tomorrow is about, all those things. Because there's a fear in the country, and it's affecting us from addressing our prime minister in an objective way. We every time we address him, he's in some kind of kneeling down, scared and afraid. And I hope that tomorrow we can get out there in numbers sizable enough to let this prime minister know that there are a large number of Dominicans who are very dissatisfied with a lot of things in Dominica.
all right, then
I
let me
will
give you
pause for now.
a chance to jump in here. Loftus, welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying with me. I know you had some trouble logging in. Um, but if you can get right to the point and give some folks some details as to what's happening tomorrow, what where we gathering, what's going on, who's on board, the unions on board, and what we expect to happen tomorrow in terms of resisting this sham election that's trying to be foisted on us. Your mic's muted, Rocky. Lofty, is your mic muted? We're not hearing you. Zed, are you hearing him? Wow. I'm not sure what's going on. Zed, Zed will have to continue. Loftus seem to have audio issues.
Where's Sam?
Sam, I'm sure is working with him in the background.
Uh,
So Zed, for those a lot of people who listen in the diaspora, how can they contribute to what's happening tomorrow?
Well, the diaspora has been awesome, you know. The diaspora is within this week, from Sunday to Sunday, the diaspora has been amazing. A surprise situation arose in Dominica, and people collectively in their own little villages, and just all they need was just a little vibes. Let's do this. That's all that was needed. And people have galvanized in a way to say we're supporting our Dominican people. But
Loftus, if you can hear us, just start to speak. Let's see if we have audio back.
yeah.
Go ahead, Zed. If
Yeah.
Loftus, you will
All
jump
right,
in.
but Drago, what I need to tell these Dominicans at home tonight from a diaspora perspective is the diaspora is burnt out.
Well, hold
We're
on.
burnt out.
Let's see if you
We-
can. Loftus. Still no audio. And that was good.
Yeah,
Then,
yeah. Let's finish. That part is important. Let's try and see if we can keep it. The diaspora is burnt out, and the diaspora is burnt out because everything that needs to be done, is just a cadre of us. It's not too many people that always have to do the same thing, bro. Reach out to the same set of people with the same pockets, to our own pockets. It's the same people over and over and over again. And the beautiful thing about this week was a lot of people who weren't contributed. But you know what is in everybody's voice? If the Dominicans in Dominica do not act, we cannot continue to keep supporting this ball. So the onus is on you. I'm telling you this time around. The diaspora has delivered, but the diaspora will not continue delivering if Dominicans are not upholding their half and their end of the deal. It's as
Right.
simple as that.
And when you say they've up in a bit, because I know people have been contributing towards transportation. People that
Yeah, man.
but people have been contributing transportation. People have been donating for snacks, for refreshments. Folks have been contributing their brain power to helping to strategize and all of those things. Do you know where folks are supposed to gather tomorrow in Dominica?
It's on the Bayfront. It's on the Bayfront. David Eugenia from 3 to 7. Yeah, yeah. It's on the Bayfront.
Do you
It's on the
know?
Bayfront.
Do you know if the unions are on board? Did we get any statement from the unions?
Well, we haven't had a statement from the unions. We haven't had a statement from too many. We haven't had a statement from the churches. We haven't had a statement from. But I think tomorrow is not even about these people, you know. I think tomorrow is a statement from Dominicans we need. It's not
Right.
even about leaders, and then we need that, you know. But they will come. You know why they will come, brother? They will come if enough Dominicans turn out to represent Dominica, because it's strength people need, and the only thing that can give us strength in Dominica right now is numbers.
Numbers.
Nothing else.
That is for
You
sure.
understand? So if people represent, the others will come. If people represent, the policemen who have doubts will come. If people represent the union, it's just the only thing that is the determinant right now is to represent.
And so Dominicans need to know, listen, we are one voice and we're going to represent. Not 5 people, not 10 people, but 1,000 people. I like before said, in the last election, how many people voted for United Workers Party? 15,000 or something.
So, something in those regards, you know. If we
Yes.
get a foot of that, the policeman will tremble, you know.
If we get 1,000,
Now we want more than 1,000 tomorrow, son. We won't ram that place.
no, I'm 1,000 people is enough to show a large crowd.
Then I'm by the port is by the Bayfront is huge, man. It's long, it's deep. We want to fool that like a carnival tomorrow, brethren. We have to send a message. Serious thing.
That is what is needed. That is
Yeah, man.
what
Yeah,
is
man.
needed, you know.
That the
I
man
know
get headache.
I know the walk was on today. It was the 34th week of the
Mm,
walk. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I don't know if you did. Did you
yeah.
see crowd?
No, I today this whole week, bro, was been just working the phones. I haven't had my kind of time. It's free, all free for in the morning. We up and it's just people working. Who calling there? Who calling there? That's all it's been. I haven't had a chance to. But you see, the 12 o'clock is a little difficult for a lot of people. A lot of people I have spoken to about why they not. They mean the 12 o'clock is kind of tight for them, but it have its reasons. I think it should stay doing what it's doing. It's awesome idea. But tomorrow, nobody have excuse. Everybody finish work. Everybody, you can go to work tomorrow and still come.
But
Because you and the reason is not that I'm not telling you not to go to work, you know. What I'm telling you is don't tell me because you have to go to work, you couldn't come. You see what I'm
right,
saying? You have
right.
no excuse tomorrow. It's catered in the time where if you choose, and it's your democratic right, I cannot impose that on you. If you choose to go to work tomorrow for your survival and your subsistence, what I am telling you is this thing is organized at a time when you can go to work and come from work and come and make your contribution to Dominica. You have no excuse.
That
No
yeah,
excuse.
yeah. Those who can stay away from work, stay away from work. But I
Yeah.
want the movement build up in the next couple of days where the unions come on board and ask their workers to stay home.
Numbers.
Stay home
Numbers
for
that's going to determine that.
exactly. Stay home
Yeah.
for I mean I saw that the PSU issued a letter, right? The PSU issued a letter um opposing the idea of the election. But once that is done, we need them to come back now and tell us we need to register our protest. We need to register our
Oh,
protest. So so
I'm on the
tomorrow
radio.
Bayfront, it starts at 3.
I'm on the radio. Yeah.
Tomorrow on the Bayfront, it starts at 3 and it's going to go from 3 to 6. Definitely.
Well, yeah. So yeah, the police had asked for specific times and everything. So yeah, yeah. But
So the police gave them 3 to 6.
yeah, something to that effect or seven. I think it's 3 to 7.
But you
Yeah.
know, I the numbers to grow. The police will have control of the time.
Yeah. Well, the way Dominica is right now, I think, like I say, everything, the relationship of the police to protesters depends on the numbers. The respect the police and policemen in there who have doubts about why they should do the right thing depends on the numbers. So if we want respect, anybody tomorrow who is concerned about violence, the best bet you can make about ensuring non-violence in any form whatsoever is to come out there in huge numbers. The relationship with you and these policemen, no matter how much camouflage they wear, no matter how much guns they have, the relationship between you and them when you are there in numbers that are reflective of a massive population is a different relationship than if you come out there for 100 people and they have no need to respect you. It's two different relationships. So if we want a relationship of respect from these policemen tomorrow, we have to establish our presence in massively for them to just chill and know what time it is. And that's the mentality tomorrow has to be about. It's about the disrespect by the police force to our people, just beating up our young men without no kind of just killing people, just disrespect, kicking you unnecessarily, harassing you unnecessarily, political victimization. Tomorrow is a statement to a lot of things. It's a statement of answering the police and letting the police know, yo, we got more than you. Come out tomorrow. Your numbers, without being any kind of violence, the only violence you should express tomorrow is your numbers.
Your numbers, and you're going to stand your ground and let
Yes.
that there's enough people here who see this as our right. And if it's our right, then you should not try to take our rights away from us. And as you say it so well with that. If we have the numbers, it's a different relationship between the police and the
Yeah,
public.
man.
Totally different between the police. So folks, this is where it is. You know, the government scared call an election that is totally unnecessary. If the Labour Party needed to reset the Labour Party could reset the Labour Party without trying to reset the country. The country
Agreed.
reset, you know. They could shuffle their cabinet, They could do whatever they needed to do internally without calling an election. And then you might say, well, the prime minister has a right to call the election at any time.
Yeah.
But the prime minister has been put on notice by a high court that you should not have another election before you take care of these concerns by the people. The prime minister has been noticed by the American states, UNESCO, United Nations, OAS, CARICOM, OECS. His hand-picked person in Dennis Byron. Every single person has told him the same thing. And what does he do? You know, he say he catch the opposition hands down, but you know when you have an insolent child that ready to say, you know, this is why I want you to kiss me. That is what the prime minister is doing to all of those people, and Dominicans included. You know,
yeah.
You know, we have a few more minutes left. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, you talk about respect, but let's talk about the level of disrespect that Roosevelt Skerrit is displaying with that announcement of elections in such a short space of time.
Yeah, you know, I would even study disrespect from the choosing of candidates. You see, if you're going to revamp an organization, then you're going to do an analysis of the organization. You're going to see the weaknesses and the strengths of the organization. And then if you're going to make changes, you're going to make changes with the qualifications and the abilities that are going to solve those problems. You know what I'm saying? Dominica has an economic crisis. Dominica has an employment crisis. Dominica has a disrespect crisis. Dominica have a whole lot of particular crises. And I don't know, I'm looking at these people and I love youth, you know me. We come from the teaching tradition and it's youth. We're always about youth, still about youth. But I cannot, at a juncture of crisis in country, I have to choose wisdom over youth.
Right.
I can bring youth along so youth can get trained to learn, you know what I mean? And yes, I agree with that. I can bring youth along. But right now, in the crisis that we are there, we need people who've been through the experience, alternative solutions. We cannot have learners on the job right now. So even the collective of the way, what he's presenting and what he's talking, it doesn't even coalesce. You have a disempowerment in the government and you're telling me you're going to improve? You know, it's madness, man.
He will bapu and he may be put in pie, you know?
It's madness. It's madness. There's no stature in there for what you need to, you know, accomplish. It's still more on the prime minister. And the fact is, the last 15 years has shown us that the weight on the shoulder of the prime minister is a problem for the country. The prime minister cannot handle the weight of the country, and he's trying to carry the weight of his country on his shoulder by himself. And it's worse. I thought he was going to ease up on himself because he's in trouble. But he's not concerned about the country, because if he was concerned about the country, he would have been making a better replacement of alternatives.
Exactly.
He's concerned about self. And we have to teach Roosevelt Skerrit a lesson, Dominicans, for our own good, for our sanity, for our own sanity.
The good of the children. You know, the Labour Party has been in power for 22 years. Roosevelt Skerrit has been, what, 19 years now, going on 20? And if you can imagine somebody who was born 25 years ago, the only thing they know is Roosevelt Skerrit, because you start to become aware of yourself at 7, 8 years old, really. So of your 25 years, and on the only thing you know is Roosevelt Skerrit. And those kids now are starting to have kids. So for those of us who had the good fortune to enjoy Dominica when Dominica had some semblance of administration and management, we owe it to these young people and to the next generation to fix it.
I'm on the radio.
To fix it, you know what I mean? We owe it to them to fix it. And so, you know, what you're saying is so true. If Roosevelt Skerrit is feeling the load on him is too much and he wants to respond, he's putting people in there who have never, just like when he came in, you know, he's putting people in there who have no political experience. Some for sure, but they're not ready. So
yeah,
brother, go ahead.
It's a serious thing, man. It's a serious thing. The prime minister is simply concerned about transitioning for him. it's not transitioning for country. This is not about transitioning for country. You understand? The conversation we're having, we shouldn't be having this conversation tonight, brother. We should be talking about the East and talking to our diasporans. We have some brothers and sisters need some help in the East. How are we going to work with them and help them? Have the government organized. Come and talk to us as a. We should be having town hall meetings in Dominica, not on politics, on with our people.
Right.
The prime minister's not talking to the nation. Every this decision that is made in Dominica, we find out about it after it's made. What kind of governance is that, brother?
We find out about it in outside media and not from local media. No, but Dominicans have to understand that this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity that we have to grasp, and that gives us the opportunity to take back control of the country. And establish some sense. We have to be able to establish some sense in the governance of the country, so that we can, like you said, the resources that we waste in fighting this nonsense could go towards helping the people who need the help.
Yeah, man, a couple of $1,000 just booked up buses, bro. We almost had maybe 30 something buses. You know what that could have done? We could have done a relief aid effort, man, for our people in the East, bro.
Yeah.
We could have gotten a call from our prime minister, diasporans. We need a little relief help from. We could have had that instead. Get on the phone, raise a $5,000-$10,000, and know our people eating some food and drinking some good juice and quality. Come on, man. We can't continue like this. The thing is that, brother, I want to make sure it's something I need to say. A lot of times we talk about the solution from the side of Roosevelt's character. I want to ask the patriots, I want to ask those political parties down there, those organizations and those leaders, I want to ask them, please, at this juncture, every time we try to come to that unified point, the little egos and the little territorial power relationships, they pop their heads up and they keep us imbalanced, and they rift the unity under the table in those closed doors. I'm begging you guys, please, don't just come on the radio and talk about unity. Start practicing unity internally. Let us set that paradigm for Dominica, please. Because if you see the fraction ends up being I'm telling you, it'll be public thing on. Please, let us stay together for Dominica and let us solve this problem, because we can do it. We need to give the people that sense of confidence. Please, I'm begging you guys.
I agree that completely. Let me say, as we're wrapping up, let's make that another appeal. Let's make that last appeal to folks to come out tomorrow in numbers. I'm gonna let you do it because you do it so well. Re-emphasize tomorrow.
My brother, we out here in this diaspora and we get a lot of fire, we get a lot of things, but people don't know the kind of pain we carry every day thinking of Dominica and the Dominica we left and how it was and how it could be and what we envisioned it would have become. It's hard. It's hard, and especially when sometimes you want to come and just go to your country and do the solution, but it's so much persecution, so much, so much victimization just because you decide to challenge what is wrong in the country. I want to call upon you down there, Dominicans, tonight. I want to call you from your low states and your high states. I want to call you. A lot of times people talk about praying in our Dominican society and they say God will take care of it. Tomorrow, Dominicans, I want you to wake up in the morning. I want you to take your Bible, go on your knees, pray, get off your knees, close your Bible, but don't leave it for God. I want you to go and help God tomorrow. Go and help God tomorrow. After you pray for God to help you, go and help God tomorrow, because we're doing too much of waiting on God. We're not helping God enough to make our problems go away. And that's what I want to ask Dominicans tomorrow. Live the vibes tomorrow. Go and do it for yourself. In the inspiration that you have prayed for God's help. Help God tomorrow. If these Christians, good people, minded, righteous, honest people in Dominica, just go and do God for tomorrow, we'll be all right.
Oh, certainly. So
peace and blessings.
That is the message. The message is to participate. Go down to the Bayfront. There are buses available from almost everywhere in Dominica. Go down to the Bayfront tomorrow. If you have to go to work, it starts at 3. But if you can, if I would encourage you not to go to work as part of the registration of your protest. Go and register your discontent and your dissent with what's happening, and let us show that there's enough of us who are disgusted by what is going on. So Zed, I thank you so much for taking the time to come, and for all you do. You're constant. You're constant on the front. You face a lot of criticism. You face a lot of backlash, but you also have a lot of support. So keep doing what you're doing. Next week, I'm going to do 2 hours next week of this resistance thing. So whatever technology issues that we have, hopefully we get it resolved.
Yeah. Man. Appreciate it, brother. God bless and one love, I'll be listening for the next part of the program.
Thank you so much. Just stay tuned. We're going to talk to
I'll watch you online. Yeah.
You can share the recording as well. There's links that we have where you can look at the recording of what it is. So I encourage all folks, I encourage you to tomorrow participate, tomorrow register your protest. I want you to send a strong message to the government. And even if you are a supporter of the government, there's no way you can think that Dominica can afford an election right now. Even if you are a supporter of the government, can you answer the question, why was it necessary? Why is it necessary to have an election now? An election is not due in almost 3 years. Why can't we avoid the expense of an election? Elections are expensive and extremely disruptive. So why do we have an unnecessary one in the middle of the term when there's so much to do, there's so many people who are still suffering, our resources needed. So folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. The second hour, we're going to be talking to the producers and the host of the show Dissect, which is on Saturday, which is part of our culture. We're exposing the artistic side of our culture. But tomorrow, I want you to find something. There's contributions that can be made. You can contact us. We will tell you where to make it. But we want to jump up again. Apologies for the issues that we had with technology. It settled down in a while. Apologies to Loftus. I don't know why he couldn't connect, but I guess he's connecting from Dominica, and we know sometimes they mess with the connection there also. So good night, folks. Stay tuned. Come back in 2 minutes, and we'll be talking to Novels and Jewel and about their show Dissect. Stay tuned.